जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रजतनरञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रजतनरञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम रामा हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। जय राधा मदन मोहन राधा मदन मोहन राधे। जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय जय गुरुदेव 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 गुरुदेव। निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल। Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to our fresh new series, Dvijapatnis, the wives of the yajnik brahmanas. So we will begin our session with our prayers and the recitation of the verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 23, Text 1. Shri Gopa Uchuhu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Esha Vaibadhate Kshunnas Tachantim Kartumartahada. Shri Gopa Uchuhu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Esha Vaibadhate Kshunnas Tachantim Kartum Arhatah. Shri Gopa Uchuhu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibarhana Esha Vaibadhate Kshunnas Tachantim Kartumarhatah. Translation. The cowherd boy said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger, and you should do something about it. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The cowherd boys jokingly implied that since Sri Krishna is the subduer of all bad things, the Lord should subdue their hunger by arranging for them to eat. In this statement by the cowherd boys, we observe the intimate loving friendship they enjoyed with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमा ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all for the fresh series of Dvijapatnis, the wives of the yajnik brahmanas. So this comes in the 10th canto, chapter 23 from the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So the 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam is also, it's the crest jewel of the entire Srimad-Bhagavatam. In fact, it is called the smile of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So how to approach the 10th canto of Bhagavatam? It is a very exalted topic. It is narrated by Srila Shukadev Goswami, who was a personification of renunciation. What was the renunciation of Shukadev Goswami? That he was self-realized, God-realized in the womb of his mother, so much so that he did not come out of the womb of his mother for years. And even after he came out as an adult and he never wore clothes. So that was the renunciation of Srila Shukadev Goswami. So in the 10th canto, Srila Shukadev Goswami begins to narrate about the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and especially in the first two parts, the pastimes in Vrindavan have been narrated. And to appreciate the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, it takes a state of consciousness which is free from any material contamination. It is a very high state of consciousness. Srila Narottam Das Thakur in his famous bhajan writes, Arakabe nitai chander karuna hoibe samsara vasana mora kabe tu chahabe vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha bemana कबे हम हे राबो श्री Vrindavan. So Srila Narottama Das Thakur is saying that when will my mind, my heart will be purified of all material contaminations? Yeah, Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shuddha Habe Mana. When will my mind be purified of all Vishaya, of all material contamination? Only then Kabe hama herabo Shri Vrindavana. Only then I will be able to see Vrindavan. What does it mean to see Vrindavan? Vrindavan, as such, is a place. There are four types of manifestations of Vrindavan. There is Vrindavan in Golok, the Goloka Vrindavan, the Vrindavan in spiritual world. Then there is Bhauma Vrindavan, the Vrindavan that is manifest on the earth. And there is Vrindavan that manifests in the heart of a pure devotee. Yeah, it is. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mora Man Vrindavan. When a pure devotee's consciousness is saturated in pure, loving, and unalloyed devotion, the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, his mind, his consciousness itself is Vrindavan. So that is a manifestation of Vrindavan in the realm of the heart. And there is also manifestation of Vrindavan, that is a pure devotee by his desire can manifest Vrindavan, the place Vrindavan, like for example, in the past, the Shad Goswamis, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami have made a sample of Vrindavan at Ramakeli, a beautiful, it's called Gupta Vrindavan. Because of their intense separation from Vrindavan, they could manifest it by building two ponds, and they were like Radha Kund and Sham Kund, and it's a very beautiful place. If any of you have ever visited, it's called Gupta Vrindavan. And even the recent Govardhan Eco Village, which was an initiative of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, that is a manifestation of Vrindavan. And when it is in the consciousness of the pure devotee, they can manifest it anywhere. So Vrindavan actually, again, it's a state of consciousness, a consciousness of pure and unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Lord. So, and again, Vrindavan is approached in a state of extreme renunciation. If you see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, many of his associates like Gadadhar Pandit, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Rai, they have never visited Vrindavan at all because they consider themselves not qualified to enter Vrindavan. And the Shad Goswamis, the Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they have been sent to Vrindavan by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on a mission. They were given a mission to write the essence of Shastras and give the nectar of instruction or nectar of devotion. They were given instruction to excavate the lost holy places. They were given instruction to compile the ideal dealings of Vaishnava. In that way, they were given a lot of instructions of what to do in Vrindavan. And that's how Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami has spent a lot of considerable amount of time in Vrindavan. Brajvas, this is called Brajvas. And it happens by the instruction of a spiritual master. It is not that a person that we buy a ticket, a railway ticket to Mathura Junction, get off there and then board a Jatka and reach Vrindavan and wow, we are in Vrindavan. Yes, it is also the way of going there for a pilgrimage. But what it exactly means to live in Vrindavan or to see Vrindavan, if we do not enter Vrindavan in the right consciousness, we might be right there, but not perceiving anything at all. Just like a drop of oil does not mix in the water. If our consciousness is materially saturated, we cannot understand or see Vrindavan, though we are right there. So it is said that we have to see Vrindavan through our ears, not through our eyes, because our eyes are still not yet purified to actually see Vrindavan visually. So we see Vrindavan through our ears. What does it mean to see through the ears? That is to understand the glories of Vrindavan from the Vani, from the words of a pure devotee. So with all of your permission and with your blessings, I'm trying my best to repeat whatever I have heard from my spiritual preceptors. So I pray that I will be able to present the topics for the pleasure of Sri Guru Parampara and for the pleasure of all the Vaishnavas. So in the 20th chapter, Srila Shukadev Goswami describes about the beautiful rainy and autumn season in Vrindavan. So what is it like in Vrindavan, the rainy season and autumn season? So there's a beautiful description given how Vrindavan looked like in the rainy season. So, in a very metaphorical way, Srila Sukadev Goswami explains the beauty of Vrindavan in rainy season, also giving very profound philosophy in each of its description. We will try to go through it. Uh, so, Shukadev Goswami begins to explain that in the rainy season, the sky, the blue sky is covered by dense dark clouds, and there is lightning and there is thunderstorm. So this is compared to how a pure spirit soul, compared to the sky, is covered over by three modes of material nature. The lightning is compared to sattva guna. The storm, the thunder, is compared to rajoguna, and the clouds are compared to tamoguna. So these are the three modes of material nature which cover the pure spirit soul and make it invisible, makes the qualities of the beautiful soul to be not manifest externally. So when does pure devotion manifest? It manifests when one transcends these modes of material nature. Um, so once after that, that's this beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita. Mamchayo vyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati taityan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Yeah. So what does this verse mean? With avyabhicharini bhakti, that means through unalloyed devotional service alone, bhakti yoga gena sevate, one renders such unalloyed devotion service to the Supreme Lord. Sagunan samati tyaitan, that is, all the three gunas are transcended. So when through bhakti yoga, devotee performs unalloyed devotion service to the Lord, a person transcends the three modes of material nature and enters the Shuddha Sattva, where Lord Krishna himself manifests. So this is how the sky looks like in the rainy season in Vrindavan. The sky covered over by the thunder, the lightning, thunder, and clouds. And after which, the once the rains start pouring down, the water, when the rain starts, the water starts pouring from the clouds. How did Vrindavan look like? So, firstly, all the stars in the twilight of the evening. What happened to all the stars? If you, even now in the rainy season, if you go and see the sky in the evening, especially during the night time, you don't see the stars. So that's how in Vrindavan, that you don't see the stars in the night in the rainy season. But instead of the stars, all the glowworms start appearing. Glowworms are, light. They emanate light. And after which, uh, and then what happened? The frogs, all the innumerable frogs start croaking. And with the croaking of the frogs, each of this is very metaphorically and analogically described very beautifully in this particular word chapter of Bhagavatam, the 20th chapter. You may go through at your leisure. And then all the rivulets, that is the tiny tributaries of the rivers which are flowing, that have dried up and shriveled because of the scorching summer heat, are now swelling back again with all the rains that are coming. And not just they're flowing, but they're flowing away from their course. And after this, the Mother Earth, she has, with the freshly grown grass, she started appearing like emerald green, with all tiny Indragopa. The Indragopa insects are reddish in color. So it's the whole earth is emerald green in color, and the Indragopas are reddish in color, and the mushrooms are whitish in color. So all of a sudden, the earth, who has been looking so dry because of the summer season, she started appearing so rich because of this, the emerald green and the white mushrooms and the reddish Indragopa insects. It all looked so bright, so effulgent, so colorful, it's so rich. And with this freshly grown grasses, and the fields were full of greenery. And seeing this fields full of greenery, all the farmers started rejoicing and dancing. Like, wow. So there is a lot of crop. So it brought a lot of happiness to the hearts of the farmers. So, and then what happened next after that? And all the peacocks started dancing, just as all as this was happening. What was happening again in the many rivers were flowing into the seas. The rivers was gushing into the seas. And as the rivers were gushing into the seas, they were appearing as if they were agitated, just like the minds of the new yogis, the neophyte yogis, are agitated by lusty and material desires. So all these rivers, when they were flowing into the ocean, they appeared agitated. And there were clouds, rain filled clouds that struck the mountains. This is a very beautiful analogy. And as these rain filled clouds struck the beautiful mountains of Vrindavan, the mountains were not shaken. And this is to be understood as how a devotee who's an advanced yogi, earlier we discussed about how a neophyte yogi is disturbed because of the rushing, disturbed because of the agitations of material lust and distractions. Now we're talking about how an advanced devotee's consciousness is. Just like when the clouds come and strike the mountains remain undisturbed. And when the clouds discharge their water on the mountains, all the dirt on the mountains get cleared. Similarly, for a devotee who has stabilized in their devotion, who becomes fixed up in their devotion, who actually transcends all the material modes and reaches a fixed consciousness, undeviated and deterred, a single pointed devotion to the Supreme Lord Hari, when a devotee reaches that consciousness, any obstacles that come in their lives, when they strike, any agitations that come into their life, they themselves remain undeterred, and these very obstacles become agents of purification. And they advanced with the help of obstacles. The obstacles start behaving as servants of Lord Krishna instead of being a source of agitation for the devotees. So this is how in a devotee's life, the same obstacles which were once a source of agitations and allurements are now becoming sources of purification and advancement. So this is a gradual shift in the consciousness of a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, which is so beautifully described by Srila Shukadev Goswami through these analogies in the rainy season of Vrindavan. So, and then what happens next? There are peacocks. The peacocks start dancing the moment they see the rain-filled clouds. This is exactly like how a grihastha who is uh, who is so tired in the scorching heat of executing their regular duties, upon seeing a pure devotee who is carrying the message of the pastimes of Lord Hari, is so um, so engrossed, so excited upon seeing the pure devotee. That's how, when a peacock sees the rain cloud, that is how, it's exactly like how a householder, when he receives a pure devotee into his house, he feels like that, his heart is dancing, like the peacock is dancing when he sees the rain cloud. Some of us might have the experience. Sometimes we invite some great souls to our houses for lecture on Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, and when we invite them, it is the whole house becomes so purified. So the whole vibrations of the house change. It becomes like a temple, and all the katha, when it is flowing in the house, the whole experience is entirely different. So this is how a grihastha feels when he receives a pure devotee into his house. And then there are also some grihasthas. The comparison is given after the peacocks, how they behave in the rainy season. Then there are cranes. These cranes. They are stuck at the place in the muddy areas of the river banks. They don't move a bit. They're just stuck in their places. So these are compared to the householders, which who, despite all the struggles in their householder life, they somehow just carry on with their lives without much momentum, without much struggle to overcome these regular regular distractions. So in this way, that's how the peacocks behave. That's how the cranes behave. And so in this way, a lot of beautiful description is given about how the rainy season goes on. And in this rainy season, what happens? Lord Krishna has come along with his cows and all his gopa friends. They all have come out, and at that time in the rainy season, nice date fruits and jambu fruits were grown. So Krishna, along with his friends, he goes to all these trees to pluck these delicious sweet fruits and enjoy eating them along with his friends. And as the cows were coming in Vrindavan, so the cows' bags, the udders were filled with milk. And as when they heard Krishna playing the flute, the milk was just dripping from their udders. So when the milk was dripping from the udders, actually it was falling on the ground. So actually, the all the vegetables and grains that are grown in Vrindavan are all the more delicious for the pleasure of the Lord, because the soil is drenched not just with water from the rains, but also with the milk that has overflown from the udders of the cows, which were which were flowing in ecstasy by hearing from the flute song of Krishna. So this is the speciality of Vrindavan. It is so rich in the natural gifts. So, and when Krishna, how he used to enjoy uh, time with his friends, he used to go into, there were a lot of mountains and caves, and Krishna used to go into the caves or into the nearby mountain regions, or he used to go into the hollows, barks of the trees, and they used to pluck the root bulbs and fruits. Vrindavan had this variety of fruits, variety of flowers, and variety of roots, which were all sweet, because they're all just growing to give pleasure to Krishna. So the fruits are all the more sweet and all the more nectarian, and they were always dripping that sap. So Krishna used to go into the barks of the trees, and he used to relish and eat those fruits and bulbs. And also, this is one of my favorites. Krishna used to sit on a stone beside the river. He used to sit there, and he used to open the lunch box that has been given to him by Yashoda Mai, and he used to eat what he used to eat. His favorite. What was his favorite? Boiled rice and yogurt. It's described in the Bhagavatam. It is called Dadi Odanam. In Telugu, we say Daddojanam, right? So this Daddojanam is also described in Bhagavatam. So it is called Dadi Odanam. Dadi is curd, and Odanam means rice in Sanskrit. So Krishna used to open his lunchbox, and he used to eat this curd rice by sitting on a stone on the bank of a river. Wow, it was such a beautiful description. And as he was eating, he used to look upon his cows that were tired of carrying their udders that were filled with milk. They were just sitting on the grass, and the bulls, they were all sitting on the grass, and with closed eyes, they were just grazing upon the nice grass, the fresh grass of Vrindavan. And Krishna was such a benevolent and loving master that he used to ensure that he used to take the cows and the bulls and the calves to the best places for grazing. And when he used to see the cows so nicely and joyfully closing their eyes and grazing upon the lush greenery, the green succulent grasses of Vrindavan, Krishna used to feel very happy and jubilant. And he used to offer respects to the rainy season of Vrindavan, which is actually a manifestation of his internal potency that has come just to give pleasure to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So the in Vrindavan, even all the seasons are conscious, that is, they're persons, and they used to make arrangements in a way that they used to enhance the pleasure of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So if it is a rainy season, it used to be just in a way exactly to enhance the mood of the pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. That was their service to him. It's how even every season looked forward to manifest its variegatedness in a way that it used to facilitate the loving pastimes of Krishna and his friends and his devotees. So that's the beauty of Vrindavan, where every leaf, every flower, every fruit, every season, every even every rasgulla, every particle of rice, every particle of sand was so eager to please Krishna, was so eager to offer its loving service to Krishna, offer themselves for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is Vrindavan. So as the rainy season passed, what came after the rainy season is the autumn season. So the autumn season comes after the rainy season. So a beautiful description is given about the autumn season, how it came about with its natural variegatedness. What happens during autumn season? During the autumn season, the sky becomes clear of the clouds. Yeah, and the muddy pathways, the muddy pathways become clear because of the autumn sun. And the muddy water of the rivers, they become clear, and the breeze becomes very gentle and aromatic. Why does it become aromatic? Because when the rivers become clear of the muddy water of the rainy season, beautiful lotuses started growing. And the autumn sun is so special that in that sun the lotuses bloom to their fullest extent, and they used to emanate their fragrance. And this was a poster that I have actually kept in our WhatsApp group. So these beautiful flowers, lotus flowers, used to blossom, and the aroma of these lotus flowers was carried through the breeze, which was just gentle. It was not a gushing wind, it is a gentle breeze. So, and then the autumn moon was described so beautifully. After the scorching sun, uh, actually this autumn season we can experience these days, right, to some extent, that in the mornings, not now but a week ago, in the mornings and afternoons, the sun is slightly intense, and in the evening it's very pleasant and cold, and the moon is very soothing. So this is the beauty of the autumn season, Sharad Ritu, which we call. So that's why we celebrate what is called the Sharad Purnima, right, the full moon, which is very beautiful moon. It is very auspicious and it's very special. Even Ayurveda has great descriptions about the moon on Sharad Purnima day. It has special, even rejuvenating qualities. So it has. So that's a different subject. So the moon of the autumn night. What was it compared to? So after the scorching midday, there was the soothing moonlight in the night. So it is just compared to a person who is uh, totally disturbed because of the material uh, distractions, totally disturbed because of the material sufferings, in the scorching heat of material sufferings. When a person is disturbed, when that person receives transcendental knowledge about the reality of life, about the goal of life, how the person feels so soothed at heart. That's how a person, um, that's compared to the moonlight. That Vedic knowledge is compared to the soothing moonlight, which gives the person the soothing. It's a soothing balm to his heart. So similarly, it is also compared to how the gopis were so. Uh, the gopis were so. They were burning in the scorching heat of separation from Lord Krishna in the morning, in the sunlight is compared to the scorching heat of separation from Krishna. And in the night, the autumn moon, the moon is who is that moon? Vrindavan Chandra, Krishna himself. By the glance of Krishna, all that scorching heat, the disturbances caused by the scorching heat, is pacified and their heart is soothed. So these are very beautiful descriptions and analogies given about the autumn season in Vrindavan. So in autumn, so as I said, even the all the animals that were in the hideout because of the rainy season, they used to come out of the hideout, and they used to start enjoying the clear fields of Vrindavan, because of the autumn sun, all the muddy paths became clear. Yeah, and the water also became clear. So these all the animals which were in hideout, they came out and they started playing. So in this way, the description goes on and on with a lot of variegatedness and amazing metaphors and profound philosophy that is annexed to every aspect of this. So what happened after this? So as Krishna was enjoying this beauty of autumn season, he started playing his flute in his bliss. So when the gopis started hearing the flutes, uh, uh, actually, this is right now we are doing the Bhishma Panchak, right? We are almost in the finishing stage of Kartik, the last 5 days of Kartik, and immediately after Kartik Mas, what comes? Katyayani Vrat. There is Katyayani Vrat for 1 month. So today I'm going to explain about what is actually Katyayani Vrat and who performed it and why they performed it, and how should one perform it. So what happened in this? Yeah, after that, during this autumn season, Krishna, so pleased with the amazing climate around, he started vibrating his flute. And the gopis, until then, they were all discussing about the pastimes and of Krishna, and they were all excited. They were all friends, and they were always day in and day out. They had only two things to do: to think about Krishna and to discuss about Krishna. These are the only things they ever. This was their world. So as they were doing it, and they used to hear the flute of Krishna, it was like the beautiful description is given. I think it's the 21st chapter of the 10th canto, which is called the Venu Gita. Beautiful verses glorifying, where the gopis glorify the flute, the flute sound, the flute song of Lord Krishna. It's an amazing description about how the gopis say that this what penances has the flute performed. Yeah, that it has touched the nectarian lips of Krishna, and when Krishna is playing the flute and his lips are touching the flute, all the bamboo trees, which are the ancestors of this flute, they started shedding tears, thinking that, oh, what great fortune this flute has received. It is our descendant, and we are so proud to be their ancestor, that it has reached the lotus hands of Krishna, and not just the lotus hands, it has the greatest fortune of touching the lotus lips of Krishna. So these ancestors started shedding the bamboo trees started shedding incessant tears, and the river that was flowing next to it, in that, the rivers are like the mothers, because these rivers are nourishing the bamboo trees, right? So the rivers are like considered the mother of this bamboo or the flute. And when the rivers heard the flute of Krishna, they were so stunned in ecstasy, and all the lotuses started blossoming, just like how when a person is stunned in ecstasy, the hair stands on end. We all say, right, our hair standing on end. So when the rivers heard the flute of Krishna, all the lotuses started blossoming to the fullest. So, and other many beautiful descriptions are given, that the Yamuna started flowing backwards. The calves, when they are drinking the milk from the cows, they stopped drinking the milk and they were just hearing the flute. And the description goes on about the beauty of Krishna's flute song. It's called Venugita. And having heard the flute, so when the month of Kartik is over, all the gopis, with a great desire to obtain Krishna as their husband, they take a vow called the vow of Katyayani Vrat. It's a vow that was performed for 1 month. And there are some details that are given about how the gopis, they were so desirous of attaining Lord Krishna as their husband. And this is not, we cannot see this from a mundane platform. Gopis were the greatest and the highest and the topmost devotees of the Supreme Lord. Their desire to attain Krishna as their husband is not to enjoy Krishna, but to give enjoyment to Krishna, to render unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. That was their desire to obtain Krishna as their husband. So they have performed this beautiful Katyayani Vrat for 1 month, and they performed with great devotion. How did they perform? Every day they used to eat Havishyanna. What is Havishyanna? Prabhupada writes it as unspiced khichdi. Unspiced khichdi is like rice, moong dal, without any spices in them. That is called unspiced khichdi or Havishyanna. So they used to eat only Havishyanna, nothing else for the entire month. And they used to, they worshipped goddess Katyayani. Who is goddess Katyayani? Goddess Katyayani is the internal potency of the Lord. For example, Durga, goddess Durga is a manifestation of Krishna's external potency. But goddess Katyayani is a manifestation of Krishna's internal potency. They used to make every day they used to go to the river Kalindi or Yamuna river. They used to take their bath. They used to make a mud deity. They used to offer dhupa deepa naivedya, that is offer a ghee lamp and offer fruits and incense and flowers, and they used to worship goddess Katyayani. And at the end of the worship, they used to offer sincere prayers. O goddess Katyayani, please be pleased upon us. Please bless us that the son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna, becomes our husband. This was their prayer every day. They used to express their sincere desire to goddess Katyayani. And so who is hearing all these prayers? Krishna. So it was the time for him to hear, to reciprocate. So this is where the stealing of the garments, the Leela happens when Krishna comes and steals the garments of the gopis. And all the gopis. But this actually, there is a place called Cheer Ghat in Vrindavan. If any of you have been to Vrindavan, this is a place which comes on the bank of Yamuna river. It's called Cheer Ghat. So Cheer Ghat is a place where actually this Leela took place, where Krishna climbs a Kadamba tree and he takes the garments of the gopis and hides them. So actually, apparently, this is a very transcendental pastime, but there is a very, very deep, profound philosophical understanding that is, and lesson that is hidden behind this pastime. That is, there is something called false ego that separates a jiva from the Lord Krishna. These are called the clothes. So the clothes that we wear are covering our body. Similarly, the clothes of false ego are covering our soul and making it blind to the presence of Krishna. So if one has to approach Krishna, what is one supposed to do? Remove that clothes of false ego. That's when one can access the mercy of Krishna. And even in devotional life, we begin to do many things, but if you go to the depth of it, unless we are totally purified, it is done in the pursuit of satisfying our own ego. So I have heard a very beautiful lecture where my Guru Maharaj was telling that, Krishna is not a facility. I repeat, Krishna is not a facility to give spiritual credibility to satisfy the whims of your ego. I repeat, Krishna is not a facility to give spiritual credibility to satisfy the desires of your ego. So many a times we have a lot of egoistic desires, and we try to fulfill them in the name of Krishna conscious activities, and we have to be very careful. Ego purification is something very, very subtle, and oftentimes that's the last thing to leave us, the last anartha to be purified. In fact, when we are leaving our body, how do you know how much advancement we have made? It is calculated by how much have I given up my false ego. The percentage of ego that I have false ego I have given up, that much of advancement I have made in this lifetime. So ego purification is, it's very subtle, and it takes very deep surrender and love for the Supreme Lord to actually overcome this ego. And this ego is purified by intense attachment for Lord Krishna. So we also see this in the Leela of Narada Muni. Narada Muni, when he was serving the sages of the Bhakti Vedantas, uh, at that time, when he served them and when the Bhakti Vedantas leave, he gets a vision of the Supreme Lord. He gets a darshan of Lord Krishna. But this darshan is only for a moment. And that made him really mad. And at that time the Bhaktivedantas leave, his mother also leaves the body, and he goes alone in the jungle searching for again getting that vision which he had seen in the past. And with such intensity he searches for Krishna, and he performs such intense tapasya to again revisit that vision that he had. So that intensity of separation in itself purified him of all the egos, of all the anarthas. So beautiful analogy is given in the 10th canto that whenever a person has intense attachment for Krishna, all the material desires are themselves burnt out. They don't sprout. We all know baligons, they're seeds. When they're fried, when they're fried, even if you pour water, they don't germinate. Yes, similarly, even if we have the seeds of material desires, our intense attachment for Krishna is like frying them. And even if conditions come, like the water is a favorable condition, similarly, even if conditions, so what is the frying agent? The intense attachment for Krishna. And all these gopis of everything, and they've offered themselves to the Lord. So this is the significance of the stealing of garments of the gopis, where Krishna says that it takes complete surrender of one's ego to attain Krishna. So Krishna, pleased by the devotion, he said he promises them that he will reciprocate with his desires completely. And that's how in the next year, Sharad Purnima, the whole the Rasa Leela episode takes place. So soon after this pastime, Krishna, along with his cowherd friends, Subala, Sridhama, and others, he goes towards the outskirts of Vrindavan. So towards outskirts of Vrindavan, this is where lived the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas. The whole topic. So now we are coming to the topic. What's the time? It's 7. Okay. Yes. So this is where the Yajnik Brahmanas were staying. They were not staying within Vrindavan. They were staying slightly in the outskirts of Vrindavan. So Krishna, as he was coming along with his friends, all his friends, he was looking at the trees of Vrindavan, and he was glorifying the trees so much. He was telling all his friends, look at these trees, not expecting anything return. They're always giving. What does tree signify? Trees signify tolerance, and trees signify giving. And it is said in Vrindavan, there is not a single tree that Krishna has not touched. If you ever go to Vrindavan, you see so many times all the devotees are like, whenever they find trees, they go and they embrace the tree. Why? Because each tree of Vrindavan has been touched by Krishna. And all the trees that are present right now in Vrindavan are either directly this very same trees, they are the trees of Krishna. of the trees which Krishna have touched. So all of them are Kalpavriksha trees. All of them were touched by Krishna. So all the devotees, they embrace the trees, and it is so true when they really embrace a tree and ask for something, ask for love for Krishna or anything you want to ask, they are fulfilled because every tree in Vrindavan is Kalpavriksha. So, yeah, so as Krishna was passing by, he was glorifying these trees so much. He was saying that, look at these trees, they're so giving. So, bhakti is all about giving. It's all about giving. And this is the mood of Vrindavan. It's about giving. He tells, there's a beautiful verse. That's how this particular chapter concludes. He says, Etavat janma safalyam dehinamiha dehishu pranair arthair dhiya vacha deya pujasya nityadam. That is, Etavat janma safalyam dehinamiha dehishu pranair arthair dhiya vacha. A living entity must perform welfare activities either through life, praner, through their life, arther, through their wealth, dhiya, through their intelligence, or vacha, through their power of word. Through these four, a living entity has to perform welfare activities. That is what brings auspiciousness to one's existence. A life is not a life, and just it is just merely existence if one is simply on the receiving end and one has never given. So tree signifies that a tree gives its barks, a tree gives its fruits, trees gives its flowers, trees gives its sap, trees gives its barks, trees gives its roots. Even if you throw stones at the tree, it gives you back fruits. We have often seen there is a big mango tree laden with fruits. You throw stones at it, and what you get? Fruits. That is a tree. It is so giving. Even if you cut the tree, it gives its branches to you to use as cooking fuel. Yeah. And you chop the tree completely. You go and use it as your furniture. And even the roots of the tree, it is full of medications. It is giving up its life completely to give. It suffers all the sun and the heat and the rain, but it gives shadow to ones who comes to its shelter. So this is how a saintly person should be, a God conscious person should be, a devotee of the Lord should be. You take anything, but then you give. I mean, you take all the sufferings, but give the shade or shelter to the one who approaches you. This is the consciousness of the devotee. And this is how Krishna was glorifying the trees. So this is Krishna and this is Vrindavan. Every day we see so many trees around us. Did we ever bother to acknowledge that, my dear tree, thank you. You're taking carbon dioxide and you're giving me oxygen. Did we even think about it even for a moment? The a feeling of gratitude towards a tree. My dear tree, you're giving me so many flowers, which I'm able to make garlands for Krishna. Did we ever feel that acknowledgement towards a tree? Or the fruit which we are now offering to Krishna, where did it come from? It has come from a tree. So Krishna is glorifying these trees. He's touching these trees, and he's simply, telling, inspiring others to learn from the trees. So he has a personal relationship with each and every tree, and that's how each and every tree is so ecstatic in love for Krishna that they gave much more fruits and sweeter fruits and more fragrant flowers and more lush greenery. That's what Vrindavan is all about. It's an abode of love where Krishna reciprocated the love of every being, and every being reciprocated their love and offering to the Lord. That's what is Vrindavan all about. That is why it's so beautiful. It's so magnificent. And that is the spirit. The spirit is every particle of Vrindavan is in the mood of loving devotional service to the Lord. So yeah, so as Krishna passed by the forest of Vrindavan, now all the Gopas, all the friends of Krishna started feeling very hungry. And after the long walk, they started feeling really hungry, and they started telling Krishna. What did they say? The cowherd boy said, "O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger. and you should do something about it. So Krishna is the subduer of all the demons. So whenever there is a demon, what is the natural reflex action? The gopas or the gopis, they immediately surrender to Krishna. They call out to Krishna, 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 see, this demon is harassing. Come and subdue the demon. So similarly, they had the demon of hunger in their stomach. So then they called out, Krishna, Krishna, we are hungry. Please come and subdue our hunger. So that's how they called out to Krishna. So are the gopas really hungry? Yes, they're hungry. But what are they more concerned about? When they're hungry, they all thought, oh, we are hungry. That means Krishna must be hungry. That means Balram might be hungry. And so we have to make arrangements for their food. And how will Krishna or Balram make arrange for their foods? They are sold out to their friends. They say that I am hungry. And that's when Krishna plans for their food. And that's when they get to serve Krishna the fruits or the food. So that's how, the gopas were exhibiting their selfless devotion for the Supreme Lord. They're saying, we are hungry. The demon of hunger is harassing us. So Krishna is a subduer of all the enemies and of all inauspiciousness. Anything that is inauspicious is subdued by Krishna. Sarva amangalakara harati iti hari. Hari means one who can eradicate all inauspiciousness. Amangalakaram. Sarva amangalakaram harati iti hari. The one who can destroy all inauspiciousness, that is Hari or Krishna. So Krishna's presence is something that can eradicate all inauspiciousness anytime. Like there is a beautiful verse, Krishna Surya Saman Maya Hoya Andakar, Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikar. Krishna is like an effulgent sun, and Maya is like Andakar. Maya is like darkness. Where there is Krishna, or there is God, or where there is Godhead, there is light, and there cannot be Maya. When there is Krishna, there cannot be Maya. That is why the sadhaka tries to increase the Krishna element in their life. And as they increase it more and more through the chanting, through hearing, or through their deity worship, or through service, through seva, as they're increasing it more and more, the light of Krishna is increasing more and more, and the darkness of Maya is reducing more and more. So, this is how we invite Krishna into our life through our various activities. So, Krishna is that all auspicious, Sarva Subhankara. One of the 64 qualities of Krishna is Sarva Subhankara. He gives, he's all auspicious. And Krishna can transform anything into, Krishna's touch is magical. In it, that whatever Krishna touches becomes purified and it becomes fragrant, it becomes all auspicious. For example, Putana, she was such a demon, she was a wicked demoness. And when Krishna sucked the milk and the breath and the life out of her, she died. And when she died, and all the Brajvasis, because she was so huge, all the Brajvasis were cutting her into pieces. But then what happened? When they cut her into pieces and they were burning her body, it emanated such fragrance that it filled the entire atmosphere of Vrindavan. How did such a demoness, such a wicked demoness, become so fragrant? It was because of the touch of Krishna. And even Aghasura, when he opened his mouth, he said, initially he was emanating such horrible stink because of the undigested remnants of the animals that Aghasura has gulped. But when Krishna stepped into the mouth of Aghasur, the whole atmosphere became so fragrant. The entire mouth of Aghasura became so fragrant. That's the magic of Krishna's touch. Wherever Krishna enters, it becomes magically fragrant, magically all auspicious. So, so the cowherd boys then saying that, Krishna, please, we are feeling hungry. Now we want something to eat. So Krishna says, okay. He turns to Balram and he says, yes, we should make arrangement for the food. It's time to eat now. It's lunchtime. So Krishna, in the heart of his heart, he has come to this particular place to reciprocate the love of his dearmost devotees. And who are these dear devotees of his? The wives of the brahmanas. The wives of brahmanas are unalloyed devotees of Krishna. They have never seen Krishna before. They've only been hearing about him. And how they were hearing about him? Whenever they used to go to the marketplace to buy some fruits, or whenever they used to meet Brajvasis. And Brajvasis, they are always crazy about Krishna. They knew nothing but Krishna. They used to only talk about Krishna. They only just glorify Krishna. Even when they were in the process of giving some, in those days it was barter system. That's how the whole business used to take place. They used to deliver the goods, the natural goods of Vrindavan, to the people who are outside Vrindavan. So that's how the Brahmanas, Patnis, the Dvijapatnis, used to get to meet the Brajvasis, and they used to hear about Krishna. They used to hear about the glories of Krishna. And as they were hearing and hearing about Krishna, they were like so sold out to Krishna. And they were just waiting for the day when they could ever get to see him. And they deeply, so much fell in love with the Supreme Lord, Krishna, that it was like the dormant love has awakened totally by hearing about Krishna's glory from the Brajvasis. Actually, it is, it's true that if you ever have get to hear a Brajvasi glorifying Krishna, they glorify Krishna with such intimacy. They talk about Krishna with such intimacy, as if he is their own. I mean, yes, he is their own. The mood is very nectarian. If you ever go to Vrindavan and you get to interact with some Brajvasis, you can appreciate the sweetness of their love. They just manifest the way they speak about Krishna. It's so amazing. So that's how the Brahmanas heard about the glories of Krishna from these Brajvasis, and their inherent dormant love has awakened. So Krishna knows, he knows everything. He knows when a devotee is ready, completely ready, Krishna simply comes. Nothing can stop him. So Krishna came here to this place just to reciprocate with the love of these Brahmanas' wives. So at this time, he tells the Gopas, his friends, my dear friends, just a little away from here are the Brahmanas. Yeah, and these Brahmanas are performing Angirasa Yajna. Yeah, and they are performing this yajna to go back to the heavenly planets. So these Brahmanas are not at the platform of pure devotional service like their wives are. So he tells them, first you go to these Brahmanas and you ask them for food. Tell them that me and Balram are waiting here, and tell them that we are hungry. Yeah, and go and get some food from them. So the Gopas, they wanted to please Krishna and Balaram. So they go to the Brahmanas, and these Brahmanas were busily performing the yajnas with such details, and in such an authentic way. With all the rituals are very perfectly performed. So these Brahmanas were engrossed in performing that sacrifice. So when these cowherd boys came, all the Gopas came, they glorified the Brahmanas, oh earthly gods. Right, just a little distance away from here, the son of Nanda Maharaj and Balaramji, they have come and they are right now hungry. Can you please give us some food? It is time for uh, afternoon lunch. So these Brahmanas, they heard them saying that, but they did not respond to them, because according to them, they should not get away. I mean, they should not stop the sacrifices in between. So they did not respond to them. They didn't say yes or they didn't say no, and they just continued their sacrifice. So, and the Gopas being disappointed, they go back to Krishna. So this is the way of ritualistic sacrifices. When you do not understand that the goal of your sacrifices is to please the Supreme Lord Krishna, and that very Supreme Lord Krishna is just came right to you and he's telling me, give me some food. You're telling, no, I'm too busy for you. Let me continue with my ritualistic performances. This is how we tend to become if you get too much engrossed in the ritualistics performances, not understanding the goal, which is to please the Lord. So, since these Brahmanas are not at the level of pure devotional service, they could not understand the position of Krishna, and and they didn't have that service attitude. So, such a great opportunity they missed. Imagine Krishna himself is just waiting right beside your house and is asking for food, and you couldn't offer to him. That's why it's so important to develop devotion even before aspiring to go to the abode of the Supreme Lord. So the Gopas return and disappointed, and they tell Krishna, this is what happened. The Brahmanas did not reciprocate. And then Krishna tells, okay, now you go to the Brahmanas' wives and ask them. And he tells them, don't tell them I'm hungry. Huh? Just go and tell them that Krishna and Balaram have come and they're just waiting, at this place which is close by to your home. Just go and tell them that. So in the commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that Krishna specifically tells them, don't tell them that I'm hungry, because if the Brahmana's wife get to know that Krishna and Balaram are hungry, they will get into such distress and such anxiety. And Krishna did not want to give that distress and anxiety to them. That's why he tells them, don't tell them that I'm hungry. Just tell them that we are here. And the Gopas go and meet the wives of the Brahmanas. They're also beautifully decorated with all the ornaments. And you know what's the first thing the Gopas tell? The Gopas tell the Brahmana's wife, my dear Dvijapatnis, my dear wives of Brahmanas, just aside, Krishna Balram have come. They were just passing by this way and they're waiting there. And they say, and they're really hungry. The Gopa, Krishna told them not to tell them that they're hungry, but the Gopas went and told them that they're hungry. So why is that? This was their expression of love for Krishna. They were just ensuring that, if we tell the Brahmana Patnis that Krishna and Balaram are hungry, they'll make nice items and bring, and that too they'll bring it fast. If not, they might take their sweet time. So, and something like this is also glorified as a pure love for Krishna, because they did not honor the word of Krishna, but they did what they did out of their ecstatic love for Krishna, because they really want Krishna to be served fast. So even that is also pure devotional service. So how the Brahmana Patnis have reciprocated to this and the glory of their devotion, we will see it next week. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai.